There's definitely a lot of tension over the whole issue on campus. It was definitely a turbulent time, and one that kind of heightened racial tensions at DHS, so definitely was different. It was a different atmosphere.
At the urging of community members, an announcement of the crime appeared in the local newspaper. The next week, a community meeting to discuss the recent events drew 100 people. They took out a full-page ad that declared to law enforcement, to schools, and to families that they did not want a community where hate crimes slipped by unchecked and unpunished. Within 36 hours, over 350 Davis parents, teachers, elected officials, students, and other residents asked for their names to be included too. Previously, police had said that too much publicity had stalled their investigation. However, within 24 hours of that meeting, 2 Davis High students were arrested. 2 weeks after the full-page ad, the City of Davis Human Relations Commission sponsored a community forum for people to talk about their experiences growing up in Davis.
This is going to be hard for me.
You know, I've lived in Davis for 34 years.
My name is Babajide Opana, and I'm a senior at Davis High.
And I've never really felt racially discriminated until February 5th. 6th, after the City Council voted on the biosafety level 4, not to oppose or endorse it. And the next day, I got a lot of emails and phone calls, very nasty phone calls, especially one who said that I should learn how to speak English better, that I should learn how to talk better, and I should learn how to do this and that.
In the first grade was also the first time I was called a nigger in the Davis High School system. The student was not suspended, the student was not reprimanded. It was simply a warning for the first time offense. From first grade to 12th grade, I've experienced countless discrimination and racial events. And
we're all Davis community members. This is our town, this is our city. We should be proud of what we have accomplished. And we are all residents here, we are all citizens. We are one, and we should love each other, or tolerate each other at least.
As a child, the view of the world is much different than the child of an adult, than the view of an adult. You see the world as a perfect place for you to have fun, you're a kid. My image of the perfect world was broken in first grade. I don't think any of you will really understand the impact that has on a child's life. When other kids were just playing around in the playground, I was worried about my skin color and my race and my ethnicity.
What's most important, I think, is educating our adults. To pretend these are children and that's the issue is deceiving ourselves. We're the issue. The adults are the issue. And starting at that level, in addition to starting at the same time as in the schools, is important.
And I tried not to think of it as discrimination, but it really hurt.
I had a group of young guys walk up to me and tell me that my group of friends and I are overreacting about all this. Now, I really don't see how we are overreacting. Unless you have been in my shoes and had to deal with what I had to deal with the last few years, I'm not overreacting.
Most of the population is white. They choose to ignore race as an issue because they have the privilege to ignore race as an issue.
They had repressed feelings for so long, and now they had that place to speak, and it just came out.
This forum went on for over 6 hours. Students made it clear that race was a daily part of their lives.
My brother, there was this chance for them to go into GATE, and he wanted to do the test, and the teacher told him not to. The teacher was like, no, you shouldn't, you're not going to be able to pass it. But he did it anyway, and he passed it, and he's in GATE right now. What was really sad is that teacher went to the people from GATE and asked them, what's wrong? Like, there has to be a problem with that test because this kid could not have passed that test. So she went along, she actually went to some administrators and told them, this kid cannot be there, there has to be a problem. And she was really mad, and she, like, even the first month, she kept on asking, like, how is he doing, because she did not believe my brother was capable of doing it. He was always kind of like, well, you know, like, there was always something for that teacher to put him down. And he had a really low self-esteem. And, I mean, it's hard for me to, I don't know what to tell my brother. He's so young, he's 9 years old. And what am I supposed to tell him? Like, you're supposed to deal with it? What am I supposed to tell him? Like, he can't stand up for himself.
At the same time in the community, other parents and educators were responding to incidents of bullying in general in some Davis schools. While educators began to reconsider how race was affecting their schools, others in the community thought about the upcoming 20th anniversary of the death of Tong Hai Nguyen. 17-year-old Tong Hai Nguyen had recently immigrated from Vietnam with his family and was attending Davis High in 1983. He was the victim of a racially motivated stabbing. Sergeant Jerry Gonzalez was one of the first officers to arrive at the scene.
I keep referring to young man, I don't want to get too close to it, but I still have thoughts of it every year. He was down on the ground. There's I believe a couple of students standing close by. They left class. They began to argue, two of them. The actual suspect came out, saw that his friend was having difficulty with these three smaller young men, and they were very small in stature. They were smaller than my height and lighter in weight, and they were trying to combat this bigger individual. Then the real suspect went out to his car, which is parked just out there in the parking lot, and he retrieved a knife. I believe his intention was to use it as a brandishing thing to kind of get the people to back off. And Tong saw him and jumped on his back, not knowing what his intents were. When he tried to push Tong off, he switched the knife around and pushed backwards in this manner, and that's what got him underneath the rib cage and came up that way. Otherwise, it would have hit his rib cage and probably would have stopped the knife from doing the damage that it did. But in the way he did it, he didn't even know he stabbed him. It was such a sharp knife, cut right into Tong's skin very easily, and did its damage internally. And then he pulled off, and of course then Tong fell to the ground. The knife wound had punctured, I believe, his lung and the tip of it his heart, I believe. We learned that this had been going on for a couple of weeks, that this taunting of these three Vietnamese newcomers to the area with these two, with the suspect and the co-suspect. Many of his kids said, whether it's factual or not, they said everybody knew. The unfortunate part is, in society, we put up kind of a monument. And if you ask the children today, the students that go here, they don't know much about it.
For many in Davis, the recent events of 2003 reminded them of the events that led up to that 1983 death. That spring, a drawing and essay contest sponsored by Davis Asians for Racial Equality commemorated Tong's death. 20 years later, students were writing and drawing about what they still experienced in Davis schools.
In my class, there was a boy named Stevie who bullied people a lot. He also made fun of tan people like me. Kids need to learn not to bully younger kids for no reason and make up an excuse so they don't get in trouble. Stevie punched me in the stomach.
I've been racist against by this kid named Danny. He racist against me by saying black people are ugly like me. And he says he hates me every time I see him. When I see him, he puts up an L for loser, and he tells his sisters to do it to me. I think that it is wrong to racist against me because I am black.
On his blog, a junior high student wrote about other types of discrimination. He wrote about the daily struggles of gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender youth, and those questioning their emerging sexual orientation.
Because as long as society allows us to continue, people are going to keep looking and looking for ways out, and tragedy will be repeated. I know what a battle it is. I know how much it hurts, and all the torments and battles inside that go on. I've thought to myself, no more wanting to scream my lungs out at almost everyone who I go to school with who uses the word gay as a derogatory term. No more pain. But throughout all my struggle, I've had amazing support. I've had people who I know I could call upon 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they'd be there.
At some point, that support wasn't enough. This letter was submitted posthumously after this young Davis student took his own life. During this volatile school year, the district had the help of numerous community groups, such as Davis Blacks for Effective Community Action, or BECA for short. BECA was founded in 1978 following numerous racial incidents in Davis schools, including students wearing Ku Klux Klan outfits at a football rally. At the beginning of the 2002 school year, BECA had presented a 26-page report to district officials outlining racial disparities in academic achievement and discipline patterns. By the spring, they felt the publication of these data could be deferred no longer. They made that report public in May 2003. Their findings included the following. Over 5 years, on average, students graduated from Davis High School very differently prepared for college depending on their race. African American, Latino, and Native American students were much less likely to have completed the course requirements to be able to apply to California's public 4-year universities. African American, Latino, and Native American students were enrolled in the district's Gifted and Talented program at a fraction of the rate of white and Asian students. African American, Latino, and Native American students were overrepresented in the district's special education program. They were twice as likely to be in special education than in the district's GATE program. They were also much more likely to have been suspended at least once during the last school year. Nationally, this phenomenon is known as the achievement gap.